So a big announcement here today that the Kubota High Limit Racing schedule has come out for 2026, featuring 66 races, 20 states, 5 new states as compared to last year, 33 different racetracks, including 12 new tracks to the schedule. There are 4 TBA dates, and there are 218 days from March 12th of the first race all the way to October 17th of the final race on the schedule. Today, we'll be going through each and every race all the way down through the calendar here and seeing what is different, what has been added, what has been taken away, all the different big races on the schedule as well. And so let's jump into it right now. This is the first race, 1 through 34. Then we'll switch the board over and go 35 to 66. Obviously, I cannot fit it all on the board. Also, a reminder, if you cannot read this very well, if you're watching on YouTube, you can zoom in on the screen and look at the board a little bit closer if you need to do that. Now, the first race, as I mentioned, March 12th, it's at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway dirt track, same as last year. But the difference is, instead of just 2 races, it will be a 3-race weekend there at the same time as the NASCAR races going on. So March 12th, 13th, and 14th, 3 straight nights of high limit racing at the dirt track at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Of course, that is in Nevada. I'm going to be trying to, keep you updated on the states here because there are some tracks that maybe somebody has not heard of and they want to know what state that is in. And then 5 days after that final race at Las Vegas, we go back over to the Central Arizona Raceway in Casa Grande. That is on March 19th, 20th, and 21st. And very similar to Las Vegas, instead of a 2-race weekend, that is turned into a 3-race weekend as well. And so the first 2 weekends of the year will be 3 races at Vegas and at Central Arizona. Now, we get into some red writing here, which is the new tracks that have been added to the schedule, and a little bit of an asterisk here because the next 4 tracks, they were on the schedule last year, but they all got rained out. So we actually did not get to race at them. And so I figured they are still technically new tracks to the schedule. We did not actually run a feature event on them. March 24th, it is the Vado Speedway Park in New Mexico. The 3/8 mile there, that is the first trip to New Mexico for high limit racing as a series. And then on March 27th, it is Route 66 Motor Speedway. That is in Amarillo, Texas, another 3/8 mile. And you'll see that many of the tracks that have been added to the schedule are 3/8 or 1/3 or quarter miles, no half miles. So a lot more shorter tracks have been added to the schedule this year. March 28th at the Dodge City Raceway Park in Dodge City, Kansas. That is another 3/8 mile. And then on April 16th, so a pretty big gap there, as we saw last year, March 28th to April 16th, about a 2.5-week gap there to the next race at the 81 Speedway in Park City, Kansas, another new track to the schedule. That one has been on the schedule for the last 2 years, but has rained out each and every time. So hopefully get some better luck at 81 in 2026. One night later, it's the Lakeside Speedway in Kansas. That is a mainstay on the schedule, as is Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri on April 18th. 3 nights later, it is the first of 2 trips to the Eagle Raceway in Eagle, Nebraska, one of the best tracks on the high limit racing schedule. So much action at Eagle, and we get to go there 2 times in 2026. That is an addition to the schedule this next season. April 28th, the Arrowhead Speedway in Colcord, Oklahoma. That is another new racetrack to the schedule. That one is a 1/3 mile and an absolutely beautiful facility. Looking forward to getting there for the very first time. April 30th at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track. Of course, we finished the season out there, but we also have that weekend there in late April, early May. That is also in conjunction with the NASCAR series. And so Texas for 2 nights, April 30th, then a day off, and then May 2nd over there in Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, that is to be exact. And so looking forward to that one. Always good racing there in a great facility as well. And then we go to Kokomo Speedway, not once, but twice in the same weekend. And we go back there later in the year as well. So that is different from last year. The last 2 years, it's been 1 date at Kokomo. This year, it is a 3-date, swing through there with a doubleheader on May 8th and May 9th at Indiana's Baddest Bull Ring. I don't think anybody is going to be upset to go to Kokomo for 2 straight nights, May 8th and 9th in Indiana. That is going to be awesome. And then we make our way out to Pennsylvania, May 19th, the Grandview Speedway in Bechtelsville. And then on May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, that is, of course, the Bob Weicker Memorial at the Port Royal Speedway in Port Royal, Pennsylvania. After that 3-day stretch, we have 5 days to get back to Indiana at the Lawrenceburg Speedway. What a race that was in 2025 between Rico Abreu, Deason Persley, and Aaron Reitzel. Lawrenceburg always brings the thrills, and we're looking forward to getting back there. May 30th, our friends at the Butler Motor Speedway back on the schedule again in Michigan. And then another new track, although this one is another asterisk, on June 1st, the Davenport Speedway in Iowa. That was on the schedule in 2023. We ran hot laps there, and then it rained out. So technically a new track to the schedule. It was not on the schedule last year, but it comes back the quarter mile there in Davenport, Iowa. I was really upset when that one rained out because that place looks like it puts on bangers. And so looking forward to getting back to Davenport. And then on June 3rd, after a very, very good race last year, Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee, Wisconsin makes it back on the schedule. And then we have our first TBA date of this schedule. There are 4 of those on the schedule. June 4th, it's a TBA. And it's in Red Riding. I don't know what's going on there. I just put Red Riding just for the heck of it. I'm not saying it's going to be a new track. I just put it on there in Red Riding because it is a TBA. And then on June 5th, another new track and a new state. For the first time, High Limit will go to Minnesota, Fergus Falls, Minnesota to be exact, the I-94 EMR Speedway, which according to my notes over here, is another 3/8 mile racetrack. And one night later, it is High Limit Racing's debut in the state of North Dakota at the Dakota Speedway in Mandan, North Dakota. That one is also a 3/8 mile. June 7th, another TBA. And then on June 9th, it is that second trip to Eagle Raceway I mentioned earlier on in the video. So Eagle, put it on there 10 times. I don't care. It races good every single time. June 9th will be the second visit to that track in 2026. Another new track on June 11th, it's the Shelby County Speedway. That is in Harlan, Iowa, 1/3 of a mile in distance, and that'll be the second trip through Iowa in 2026 for High Limit. I've only heard good things about Shelby County. I'm not sure about sprint cars, how much they've been there before. I know that's a big late model and stock car area, and so we'll see how Shelby County goes, but I just love seeing new tracks on the schedule, and so June 11th, we'll make our way through there. And then how about Montana making its way onto the schedule? Big Sky Speedway in Shepherd, Montana on June 26th and 27th, a 2-day show over there in, what do they call it? Is it the Big Sky State or something? I can't remember the name of the state, but Montana, great to see that get a date with a national touring series. And I've only heard good things about the Big Sky Speedway. Looking forward to getting over there as well. Also, take a look at this little section of the schedule. June 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 9th, 11th. You've almost got a speed week built in there among a couple of different states right there. Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Nebraska. And then whatever those TBA dates are going to be, that is a very busy portion of the High Limit Racing schedule in 2026 from June 1st to June 11th. A lot of races crammed into that area. And so that is races 1 through 34. Let's switch the board around and take a look at the second half of the 2026 schedule. All right, second half of the board is now up on race number 35. The series will head back on July 13th to the Fremont Speedway in Ohio. That race was changed around from 2025. It was supposed to be early in the year. It got rescheduled to Kings Royal Week. That was a huge success. And so High Limit is going to be having Fremont Speedway on the same week as the Kings Royal, leading up to July 15th and 16th at the Eldora Speedway, of course, in Ohio as well. For the Joker's Jackpot Weekend. That one is going to pay well, and we saw some incredible action there from Eldora this year. A few days later, it is the one and only trip to Lernerville Speedway in Sarver, Pennsylvania on July 21st. 2 nights later, the series heads up to New York at the Ransomville Speedway on July 23rd and July 24th, a new track to the schedule in Busty, New York. It is the State Line Speedway, which is 1/3 of a mile in distance. I don't know much about State Line Speedway, but like I said earlier on, if it's a new track, I am all for it. Love going to new facilities, and State Line will do just that next year. On July 25th and 26th, we go to Port Royal Speedway again. That is a different portion of the schedule. Last year, we went to Port Royal for 6 nights, 3 for the Weichert, 3 for the Tuscarora 50. We will add 2 more dates at Port Royal. In my opinion, one of, if not the best half mile in all of America. So going to Port Royal, I'm not upset about that. July 25th and 26th, looking forward to getting back over to the Speed Palace. And then we go from Port Royal, have about a month off there before we head back over to the West Coast. The Santa Maria Speedway in Nipomo, California. That is a new track to the schedule next year as well. 1/3 of a mile in distance over there to Santa Maria, a place that I have a lot of experience at. Used to announce a lot of USAC sprint cars there. And so Santa Maria makes it on the West Coast schedule for High Limit. August 21st, it is the Thunderbolt Speedway in Tulare, California. And then on August 22nd, Placerville Speedway as well. So 2 tracks that have been on the schedule for the last 2 or so years. August 23rd, there is a TBA there. And so if that gets filled in, you can imagine it is somewhere in California. We'll have to wait and see if that TBA does end up getting used or if it's just kind of there right now, seeing if things will develop or not. August 27th, 28th, and 29th, of course, it is the Gold Cup Race of Champions, paying $100,000 to win. So looking forward, obviously, to the 72nd edition of the Gold Cup, California's crown jewel. August 31st, it is the Douglas County Speedway in Oregon. Love getting up there to Douglas County. The fans there are rabid. They love 410 action, and so they will get another date in 2026. And then that leads us right in to the Skagit Nationals at the Skagit Speedway in Alger, Washington, September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Up there in the Pacific Northwest, and another over $100,000 payday on the line there in Skagit. And then we go from there and have 5 days to get over to the East Coast for the Port Royal Speedway. Of course, the Tuscarora 50 weekend, September 10th, 11th, and 12th. One of the biggest weekends of the year for High Limit Racing. September 17th, it is 3 straight nights at the Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri. It is the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. That race is new to the schedule this season. Of course, that has been a POWRize sanctioned event for the last couple of years, but next year it is going High Limit Racing's 3 straight nights of High Limit at Lucas Oil, one of, if not the best facilities in the entire country. That is going to be a cannot miss weekend over there on September 17th, 18th, and 19th. And then we head back over to Kokomo Speedway on September 23rd for a one-night stop before we head over to the Four Crown Nationals at Eldora Speedway in Ohio, September 25th and 26th. And then a few weeks off there before the final stretch of the season, October 9th, there is a TBA in there, so we do not know exactly what is going on there. But on October 10th, it's the Lakeside Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas, before we finish things out on October 16th and 17th at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track. So 66 total races on the schedule, 20 states, 5 new states to the series, 33 different racetracks, 12 new tracks, and 4 TBAs as of right now. We'll wait to see what those TBAs look like as the season gets closer and those dates get closer. As of right now, we do not know exactly what those hold, but a great schedule. Looking forward to all those new racetracks. Looking forward to some new events as well. Of course, the Daniel McMillan Memorial, that 2-day show at Kokomo. There is a lot to look forward to next year with High Limit Racing. And remember, you can watch all of it live on FloRacing. So make sure to get your subscription before things kick off on March 12th at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway dirt track. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for another one here on the Raudman Rundown. Appreciate your support. Hit like, hit subscribe, and comment your thoughts on the schedule down below.